Hi, I'm Tina from Prep 101. In this video, you're going to learn to calculate the area of a triangle and the area of a parallelogram. And typically, either one or the other will be tested on your first exam. Okay, let's get started. So, area of a triangle and a parallelogram. The only difference, for the area of a parallelogram, we do the cross product of u and v, and then we do the magnitude. For a triangle, we put a half out in front. So think of, back in elementary school where you had the area of a parallelogram be base times height, and a triangle we do half base height or base times height divided by 2. So that same sort of thing applies here. So the first thing we have to do is, if we don't have vectors, which we often don't, for triangles at least, we have to find the vectors. So if we're given points, P is 3, -1, 2, Q is 1, -1, 3, and R is 4, -3, 1. We need to find some vectors. So step 1, find vectors. So we can do vector U is Q minus P, and then vector V is R minus P. Now you could also use R minus Q if you like, so you can pick any two of those three vectors. So R minus Q would be just as correct as using R minus P, so it's up to you. Just stick with whatever method you're used to and use the same method all the time. So Q would be 1, -1, 3 minus 3, -1, 2. And R minus P would be 4, -3, 1 minus 3, -1, 2. And so for vector U, 1 minus 3 would be -2. -1 minus -1 would be 0. And 3 minus 2 would be 1. And for R minus P, 4 minus 3 would be 1. -3 minus -1 would be -3 plus 1. So that would be -2. And 1 minus 2 would be -1. So that's step 1, find the vectors. So step 2 is going to be to do the cross product of the vectors. So we covered cross product previously. So we write out vector U, -2, 0, 1, -2, 0, 1, and we write out the other vector below it. So 1, -2, -1, 1, -2, -1. And remember, for cross product, we're going to cross out each end. And then we're going to multiply down and right minus multiply down and left. So U cross V here. 0 times anything is 0, minus from the formula. 1 times -2 is -2, so subtract a negative is +2. In the middle component here, we get 1 times 1 is 1, minus from the formula. -2 times -1 would be 2. And the last component here, multiply down and right, -2 times -2 is 4, minus 0 times 1 is 0. So for U cross V, we're going to get 2, -1, and 4. And that's step 2. And the last step is, well, because it's a triangle, we have to make sure that we put the half in out in front, and then we do the magnitude of our cross product. So I always say just put the half in right away. And when you get this question on the exam, stick a half right beside the multiple choice answers to remind yourself to do the half. Because if you forget it, the answer most likely will be there. So we square 2 squared plus -1 squared plus 4 squared, and keep in mind to have the half out in front. So we have 1/2. 2 squared is 4, -1 squared is 1, 4 squared is 16. So we get either a half root 21, or you can write it as root 21 over 2. Now keep in mind, even if it was root 24 over 2, we would never divide that by 2. You can't divide by 2 inside a root. So even if it's an even number, just leave it over the 2. So root 21 over 2 or half root 21 would be our answer. They don't require you to put units. You can write units squared in your answer, but you can just leave it alone as well. They don't take off marks for not putting units in this course. Okay, so now we're going to do a parallelogram. The only difference is in a parallelogram, we won't have the 1/2. So find the area of the parallelogram determined by vectors. U is 1, 3, 1, and V is -2, 2, -1. So our formula is magnitude of U cross V. So go ahead, pause the video. Let's see if you can get the cross product and then do its magnitude and see what you get for the area of the parallelogram. So for U cross V, we have 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 1. V is -2, 2, -1, -2, 2, -1. And we're going to multiply down and right minus multiply down and left. So in the middle Here we get 3 times -1, so that'll be -3. Minus sign for subtract, that's the formula, is always minus. 1 times 2 is 2. Next component, multiply down and right, minus multiply down and left. 1 times -2 is -2, minus 1 times -1 is -1, so it's subtract -1, so it becomes +1. And then our final component here, down and right, multiply, 1 times 2 is 2, minus, down and left, 3 times -2 is -6, 2 subtract -6 turns into 2 plus 6. And so our cross product is -5, -1, and 8. And of course that doesn't look like an area, so we need to make sure that we remember to do the magnitude of it. So we need the magnitude of -5, -1, and 8. So we get square root -5 squared plus -1 squared plus 8 squared. And we get 25 plus 1 plus 64. And so that will be root 90. And most likely you'll just leave it like that. I'll show you how to rationalize just in case they ever do. So take out a root 9. 9 times 10 is 90. And the root of 9 we can do, that would be 3 root 10. But most likely your answer will just be root 90 and they'll leave it alone. And again, if you want to say units squared, you can, like I mentioned for the last example, but you don't have to. So in example 3, we're asked to find the area of the parallelogram determined by 4 points. So here, usually when we're given a parallelogram area question, we're just given 2 vectors. But in this case, on the exam, they asked them to do it using 4 points. So this is quite a bit trickier. So I want you to just draw a quick sketch of a parallelogram. It doesn't matter where you start labeling your points, but if you start, let's say here, then you label them around in this direction, okay, in a clockwise direction. Don't go like P and then across to Q and all over the place. So it has to be in order. So P, Q, R, and S. So P, I'm just going to write the points on here so I can see them as I go. P is 0, 1, 0. Q is 3, 0, 0. R is 5, -2, 0. And S is 2, -1, and 0. And so we want to find vectors. And what we want to be careful of is on this particular exam, when this question came out, the question on the exam fooled some students and they got an area of 0. And of course, if we actually have a parallelogram, then the area can't be 0. And what they did was they found a vector P to Q and then they found a vector R to S. And those vectors are opposite or across of each other here, right? P, Q, and RS, they're parallel to each other. And so parallel vectors, when you cross them, you're going to get the 0 vector. So be careful. If you're going to do from P to Q, that's great. You can do Q minus P. That's vector U. And then make sure you do a vector this way. So we'll do vector V. And it doesn't matter if you do P minus Q or Q minus P, Q minus R, R minus Q, because of course, when we end up doing the magnitude, if it's a negative and it squares, it'll be a positive anyway. So it doesn't matter which way you go. So here I'll do Q minus R. If you did R minus Q, that would be fine. So Q minus P, we've got 3 minus 0 is 3. 0 minus 1 is -1. 0 minus 0 is 0. And here, Q minus R, 3 minus 5, -2. 0 minus -2 is 2, and 0 minus 0 is 0. And then we're going to cross them. So if we write out vector U, we have 3, -1, 0, 3, -1, 0. And we're going to cross that with V, -2, 2, 0. And remember, when we do cross product, we cross out each end. And then we're multiplying down and right, minus multiplying down and left. So U cross V here is going to be -1 times 0 is 0, minus from the formula, 0 times 2 is 0. In the middle, 0 times -2 is 0, minus 3 times 0 is 0 again. It's a bit of a strange answer. And 3 times 2 is 6, minus from the formula, -1 times -2 is +2. And so our cross product gives us 0, 0, and 4. And because it's a parallelogram, we don't have the half like in the triangle. So all we have left to do is the magnitude of the vector 0, 0, 4. So we do square root, square all of our components. So 0 squared plus 0 squared plus 4 squared, and we get the root of 16, which is 4. And of course, you can say units squared if you like, or you can just say 4 as your final answer. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, see more videos in this playlist. Don't forget to join the Facebook Study Hub. Use the link in the video description box. Also, I hope to see you at my prep sessions, where I'll show you lots of tricks on how to ace your exam. I'll go through every problem that you need to solve, and you'll solve them with confidence by the end of my prep sessions. Many of our prep sessions are free, so go to prep101.com now for more details and to sign up. I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.